What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today is July the 3rd. I want to give you a quick pre-market update, go over some of the hot movers and what big money is doing today. Before we get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with data points, we do have two big ones coming out first thing, roughly 10 minutes from now. So depending on how much I rant, I'll kind of cover that. But non-farm payroll and unemployment. Essentially, it might play out the same thing as ADP. If they come in significantly worse for wear, then you might see the market move up significantly, because then the market might be pricing in a July cut. So that's kind of what happened yesterday. Market was unsure about the data, and then of course the greater forces determined it was relatively optimistic. So same goes for this. One thing to take note of though is that it is a shorter day, so the market does close at 1 p.m. Eastern, so it is going to be a shorter one. And historically, every time there is a long weekend type of situation, any heavily shorted stocks, shorts do typically return a little bit more on these days. So for those of you that love squeezes or something along those lines, that might be something to keep in mind. But aside from that though, that's the only only two data points to really watch for. Aside from that though, futures are looking pretty a-okay. Dow is up 0.24, S&P up 0.19, NASDAQ is up 0.08. Getting right to it though, SoFi is up 0.28. Nothing really crazy coming out from them today. No news, no SEC filings or anything along those lines. Aside from that, 13.84% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 150.16 million shares. Shorts have really been doubling down recently, so most likely they will be returning a little bit, dependent on where SoFi essentially does land. And what I mean by that is SoFi is a very good example of manipulation, only because market makers and as well shorts have a financial interest in having as many call options expire worthless as possible. In some cases, they've actually manipulated it to close at, let's say, $17.99 for an example, just to have certain options expire. So ultimately, this is the open interest, so just take note of that. So where we are now, some relevant ones: 4,000 at that 1750. 13,000 at that 18, 14,000 at 1850, and then 20,000 at 19. And then, of course, best case scenario, 29,000 at 20. So at the end of the day, if SoFi is able to close above 18, that's very beneficial. But most likely, if SoFi is close to one of these strike prices near the end of the day, you might see shorts kind of wake up a little bit. But aside from that, with 18.18 during the pre-market, it is trading between this R2 and this R1. So 18.22 is going to be that key pivot. 17.54 is going to be that next strong support. And then aside from that, if SoFi is able to get build up some really good momentum, or let's say some tariff deal does come out, for instance, 1932 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, aside from that pivot of 1822. Moving on, SBET. So it is up 12.4%. No actual news from them today, no SEC filings, rather just piggybacking off of yesterday's momentum, which caused it to go up 28%. So people's appetite for risk is definitely on the table right now. So this is a stock to really watch for if you are a day trader. 13.8% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 8.8 million shares. Again, another stock where you might see shorts return a little bit today as they can prepare for the long weekend. Aside from that, with it at 1349, it is above all the key fib levels. Moving over to the classic though, 1335 is a strong support, just watch for that, followed by 1208, and then 1668 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So you never know, you could see some FOMO. Most likely you won't see this R3 being touched, but just watch for 1335 to be that kind of key point to really watch for and to really hold if you're going to see a continued push going into next week. Moving on, ticker is MOGO. It is down slightly. No news from them today, no SEC filings, but it looks like today we're just having a certain level of profit taking because it went up 112.4% yesterday because of this news. So you're going to have any stock that runs up this amount, you're going to have profit taking and whatever else. But 7.06% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 1.44 million shares. So again, another stock that you might see some kind of shorts returning. With it at 223 though, it is trading currently between this R2 and this R1. $2 is going to be a strong support. In my opinion, I don't really see that being touched possibly today. Again, I think it might fall back onto the data points just to see if the market's going to actually move to the next leg up or stay somewhat stagnant today. Aside from that, 231 and then 281 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. One thing to take note of though, because of yesterday's hype, it actually did have a high of 383. So this 281 is not off the table. It could actually hit that. So just be aware of that. So just take note of those. Ticker is BTBT, and so digital. A lot of miners are getting a lot of good momentum starting yesterday, and so ultimately no news from them today, no SEC filings. So rather, this 3.42% is piggybacking off of yesterday's momentum. So again, if you're a day trader, whatever else, one thing to take note of though is a lot of miners actually did put out some news yesterday or even the day prior, and they've been really pushing, I think, just the whole sector higher. Right now, BTBT doesn't have any news or anything, so it's kind of acting on its own, and it's actually getting the very significant volume, mind you. So something just to keep in mind. But right now, 8.43% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 23.66 million shares. With it right now at 272, trading between this R2 and this R1. So 260 is going to be a strong support, 280 is going to be the next strong target / resistance, followed by 313. In my opinion, given this, yes, it has some pretty good momentum, but it's not one of those stocks that would go up like 60% in one day. So in reality, I could see it hitting this R2. Most likely it'll bounce off of that and trend a little bit lower unless we have some significantly better data than anticipated. Flip side, 260. I don't really see that being touched either. So most likely it's just going to trade within this R2 and this R1. So again, if you're a day trader, swing trader, whatever else, take note of that. And then last but not least, ticker is CV. So just recently launched, it looks like that. Day one, it went down 30%, so not necessarily the best IPO type of scenario played out. But aside from that, today it seems to be getting a second wind. It is up 47%. No news, no SEC filings or anything like that. So this is the pure definition of a speculative play, because honestly, there's nothing really driving it higher. So similar to Circle when it started, because there wasn't really any news, just a lot of speculation. But nonetheless, though, 47%, you can make some pretty good money. Day trading, swing trading, a lot of big money is definitely getting in it this morning during the pre-market. One thing to take note of though is just kind of watch for whole numbers. So this has gone up significantly. So at a spike to roughly $10.38 during the early pre-market, and it kind of pulled back. So anything is possible with this stock. So like I said, just watch for whole numbers. So $5, $4.50 as support levels, and then flip side, $5.50, $6 as kind of points to really targets and resistance points. So let me know your thoughts on these stocks. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And actually, I'll quickly pop over here. So in exactly 1 minute, these data points should be coming out, and then that way I can give you a quick update on this. But so far, it looks as though the market is somewhat optimistic I guess, leading into this data. Again, I think there's a lot of different factors at play and a lot of optimism associated to rate cuts. Now, because of yesterday's ADP, it gave some hope for July. So 7:30 now, so let's quickly refresh this. And so far, nothing seems to be coming out. So it looks like non-farm payroll came in at 147 versus 100. So that's generally good. Of course, that's kind of popping the optimism for essentially a earlier rate cut. So the market might not necessarily like that. Trade of balance came in kind of line with expectation. Same with exports. Obviously, trade of balance is just basic math, so that means imports as well. A big one to really watch for is unemployment. So came in at 4.1, so a little bit lower than the forecast. So essentially today we have good data. So that does again pop the likelihood of a earlier cut. So most likely people will be adjusting from now the July to September. So something again to keep in mind for that. Aside from that though, so far it looks as though the market likes it, really moving higher as a byproduct of that. So hopefully everyone has a good day. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.